Remember back in Season 1 when everything was fresh and new and also very much beta in the Overwatch ranked scene? Nobody really knew what they were doing, including the devs, which led to the big ranked overhaul in Season 2. And boy did that work great, so great in fact that even I went out of my way to make a video highlighting how Season 2 was not a good indication for which rank you truly belong into, and we are going to reiterate why that is in a bit. Remember those times? Probably not, because there were like 5 people watching my videos at the time. On the note of that, guys, you are personally invited to join the coolest club here on YouTube, namely the Notification Squad. That is right, my friends. All you have to do is press the little bell next to the subscribe button to make sure you are notified whenever I upload one of my amazingly average videos. I never went out of my way to mention that, since just to make sure everyone caught that, nobody fucking watched my videos! But I somehow managed to fool 10,000 people into subscribing to this channel, which thanks a lot for doing so, guys. I very much appreciate it. But yeah, YouTube does weird things all the time, so if you want to stay up to date on my uploads, which are usually for Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 8 PM CET, do make sure you set up your notifications for this channel. Anyway, our subject for today is ranked matchmaking, and SR distribution. We are also going to talk about why it seems like getting Masters in Season 3 is so easy. I mean, according to Twitch chat, all of the 15 to 20,000 people watching Tim the Tapman are apparently top 500 players, judging his every misplay. Good one, Silver Scrubs. At any rate, things like that are not born out of thin air. There is a reason community perception goes towards thinking that getting Masters is no longer something prestigious, even when most players are still nowhere near that rank. I mean, it doesn't really help that average Joes like myself somehow manage to slide their way up the ranks. Before anyone says shit about the gameplay I'm using, I know it's bad. I'm only playing my main once a week to avoid decay. Been playing a lot of BF1 recently, actually. I know, dude, this tank meta is just really annoying. I'm kind of just waiting for the nerfs. I'm gonna get back into streaming Overwatch ranked soon, shake off the rust, stop feeding, getting good, you know, all that good stuff. Now let's get into the meat of this. In order to understand why our current ranked system works the way it does, we need to understand what was wrong with it in the previous iterations. For the record, creating a perfectly functioning matchmaking system is pretty much impossible, so I guess we should cut the devs some slack since this is their first FPS. For all of you who didn't play back then, let me quickly break down what you see in front of you right now. This is the bell curve for SR distribution in Season 1. The first iteration of the ranked system didn't have a 1 to 5,000, but instead a 1 to 100 scale and did not feature any names such as Diamond or Grandmaster. What you can see gracefully illustrated on this image is that the middle looks a little bit crowded. Right around rank 50, we have a whopping 70% of the entire ranked player base distributed among a mere 15 ranks. This does not mean that 70% of the player base are right around average players, especially because nobody ever filled the entire spectrum of ranks. We had no players below rank 25 and only few, if any, above 75. What it actually means is that the placement system in Season 1 tried to throw you somewhere starting from 50. So if you were performing poorly, you'd end up in the lowest spectrum of 50. If you performed better, you'd end up higher. But only few players would even end up placing anywhere else but from rank 40 to 60, which is a massive problem. We're assuming that the original ranked system relied too heavily on the win-loss ratio during the place of matches rather than the player's hidden matchmaking rating, or hidden MMR. The hidden MMR is, as the name implies, not something you can check in your stats, nor is it something we even know what it consists of. What we do know, however, is that the hidden MMR is a me type of statistic that determines how good you are individually with any given hero. Again, all we can do is assume, but given the way Season 1 played out, it seems like the hidden MMR wasn't big enough of a factor to weigh into your rating. What ended up happening was that by sheer luck, or the lack thereof, players would get a rank that was not at all suitable for their personal skill level, merely based on whether or not they were lucky during the placement matches. Imagine that you as a diamond rank player were matched up with a bunch of gold ranks, whilst opposing an entire team of grandmasters. That, to a less extreme extent, happened very frequently to people. But also the occasional silver player that will find himself lucky in a team of masters, who then proceeds to absolutely trash on a full team of platinums. That's how important it is to have some sort of baseline MMR for your placement matches. Obviously, a ranked system that was this messed up right from the get-go saw little hope to ever reach an optimal state. While yes, the bell curve would flatten a bit with players distributing more evenly among the ranks, given the fact that a whopping 70% of the entire player base was only 15 ranks apart from each other, every match became a gamble. Now if we compare that to Season 2, not a lot has changed. We still have a lot of players clumped together, this time around in gold and platinum, and still like players in both the extreme ends of the spectrum with bronze and grandmaster. The reason that a high rank such as Masters was so prestigious, and players will tell you that has been better back then is because we had a false impression of what it takes to get to these ranks. What you have to understand is that the Overwatch ranked system is not a ladder in a traditional sense. You do not start all the way down in bronze to work yourself up to Grandmaster. That is not the point. The current iteration of ranked in Season 3 favors one thing above all else, and that is balance. What's more important than grinding yourself to a high rank is that your matches are balanced in terms of skill. The reason more players are in Masters now is to flatten the bell curve, distribute players who were previously on the same rank, and that falsely so. It may have been true that only the most dedicated players who would grind ranked all day would make it to Masters before, but that was not the point of the ranked system, because you very well had players that were capable of performing in Masters who did not invest the time to grind through the RNG fest in hopes of getting teammates that can perform at their level to then together reach a rank that they belong into. Just to quickly summarize what we got so far, the biggest problem in Season 1 and 2 was that too many players were clumped together within a very small range of ranks. If you have bad players, average players, and good players all in the same rank, it makes it very difficult to balance matches properly if the emphasis of the matchmaking system is not on the right statistics. The point of ranked is not to grind yourself through this RNG fest day in and day out to end up with a prestigious rank. The whole point is to find balance and challenging matches. Yes, it did ensure that the vast majority of players in high ranks were in fact very dedicated, knowledgeable, and skilled. However, it also meant that the pool of players which they could compete with was very small. And also that those who theoretically have the skill to compete with them could not do so because they either didn't want to or couldn't invest the time to grind through the rankings that were broken at the time. So now in Season 3 we have far more players distributed in the low and high end of the spectrum to help the matchmaking system with creating balanced matches. But wait, when everything I say is true and the only thing the game tried to do was put all the silvers, golds, diamonds, and masters that were previously clumped together in platinum into the ranks they actually belong to, why would former high rank players have this perception that, and I quote, every retard gets into Masters this season? Well, as I mentioned before, getting a high rank was, in the vast majority of circumstances, connected to either a massive time investment. This time investment helps to get experience that ultimately helps those players to perform at a higher level, or simply absolutely supreme skill at the game. This created the perception that only the best of the best were supposed to be in Masters, when originally the intention might have been that those types of players mingle in high GM. So for one thing, Masters was never intended to be this extremely difficult to get into type of rank that it seemed to be in Season 2, more of a unity of tryhards, but there are 3 more reasons, at least in my opinion, so let's talk about those as well. Another thing that could be the reason we see more players in Masters ranks now simply comes down to the way Overwatch is designed. A truly good player would have a ton of skills in Overwatch. Good aim, steady tracking, supreme movement, fantastic positioning, tons of game sense, and the list goes on and on. However, you do not need to have all of these skills simply because there are 5 other people on your team who can compensate for the skills you don't have. Let's say your aim is amazing, but your game sense is trash. If you have a good shot caller on your team and your team always calls out enemy flags and predicts ultimates, they effectively make up for the fact that you're only good at this one particular thing. And that relates to all the skill sets necessary to be considered a truly good player. You only need a few of them as long as you get teams that compensate for those that you don't have. This is obviously where the problem lays, because the moment your team does not compensate for the skills that you lack, you're in big trouble. Ideally, you want to have teammates that bring all of that to the table, but since getting a high rank is no longer connected to either being supremely good or grinding for ages, a lot of players get away with only being good at a few things. Another reason could relate to the way SR distribution works now. It seems like there's a way bigger emphasis on your hidden MMR, and by that a big focus on your own performance. I'm assuming that the way it works now is that it takes your stats for any given hero you play and compares those stats to other people playing the same hero around your rank. If you play, let's say, McCree, and you consistently get stats that far exceed the average player around your current rank, the system will reward you with more SR during win streaks to match you up against people of your own skill level in an attempt to keep matches balanced, rather than having potential GM level McCrees shit on platinum players. The problem occurs when we look at hero balancing. In this particular season, the buffs to Soldier, Diva, Torbjorn, and Symmetra allow players to rank up faster using those heroes because thanks to their buff, they suddenly perform way better in terms of statistics than they did before. So a lot of players have gained a high rank on the back of heroes that are universally considered broken at a high level, which is why a lot of players, me included, can't wait for the upcoming Diva and Ana nerfs that hopefully break this current triple and quad tank meta into pieces. And the last reason would simply come down to improving. This is something that a lot of people don't actually put into consideration. Only because you're ranked in a certain place once doesn't mean you're supposed to stay there at all times. Ultimately, the goal is to compete with players on your own level and eventually improve. I mean, we're now to the 3rd competitive season of Overwatch. Chances are that a bunch of Diamond players figured out the game by now and tried to improve to get into Masters and higher. To wrap this video up, I'd like to leave a few of my thoughts on my own philosophy for ranking up. First off, try to avoid solo queue whenever possible. Grinding through RNG does not make you a better player, it is merely a test of patience. If you have the chance to duo queue with somebody you know complements your playstyle or brings skills to the table that you don't have, play with them. Minimize the RNG and grow as a team. After all, Overwatch is a team-based game. If you are a Diamond player, hitting Masters is not a difficult thing. Staying in Masters and progressing further is another story entirely. But only getting there is merely a matter of time investment. If you grind Diamond long enough, you'll eventually get into low Masters, which is essentially where I am right now. Just remember that once you're there, having this shiny new badge does not make you an amazing player. It doesn't make me a god as much as it does make you one. I've been maining Ana for the majority of Season 2 in Diamond, keeping improvements through the course of my experience and the rise of the tank meta in Season 3 in mind. I think you can tell why I got where I am now. Playing Ana in this current meta is not difficult by any means. I was already reasonably close to Masters before, and I duo queue whenever possible to minimize RNG with teammates. My game sense is alright, I have an okay understanding of the game's mechanics and a good bit of experience, but my aim is absolute trash compared to GM players, as is my movement and my positioning at times as well. Let this be a lesson for you guys. I am the average Joe that got to Masters. All it means is that I'm a reasonably dedicated tryhard, so as long as you bring that to the table, you'll also be able to get there and find out that it's not actually as amazing as you thought. Remember that your rank ultimately is not something to wave around and be proud of, it's just a label that's supposed to help the game match you up against players of your own skill level. If everyone treated it as such, I feel like we'd have far less dispute and toxicity in voice chat, but oh well. Thank you everybody so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed what you saw, do let me know by leaving me a like on your way out and maybe a comment if you feel like it. I also stream over on twitch.tv/Terios, the link to which can be found in the description below. I really don't do anything fancy, it's really just me hanging out and playing, so if you want to chill, you know where to find me. Don't worry guys, I'll eventually try and stop being satisfied with being average and try to improve my game to shoot for Grandmaster, as long as that might take. So if you do want to be part of that journey, don't forget to drop a follow. Thank you all once again for watching, don't forget to subscribe for more videos just like this one and the return of my usual short outro. Take it easy guys.